Hey, Grant.
Hey, Grant. Hey, Grant.
Hey, Grant. Hey, Grant. Hey, Grant.
Hey, Grant. Hey, Grant. Hey, Grant. What's up, man?
This is the GRANTASTIC podcast. All right, welcome to GRANTASTIC, Jamie Drake. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing okay, surviving this storm in NorCal. Um, yeah, it's been crazy weather lately.
Where are you located?
San Francisco.
Okay.
So, I know we're supposed to do the podcast on or yesterday, I think it was, or 2 days ago. But went to Tahoe, got stuck in Tahoe with a snowstorm and everything. I was like, oh, thought I could get out. Nope, that was not the case. Had to shovel our way out, and then we made it down here. But now there's just this giant storms hitting SF right now, so we're just
Oh, wow.
trying to survive.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That reminds me. I went to Tahoe a few years ago with my mom
Nice.
during the winter time too. So it was the first time I'd ever been there, and we had a really we had a really funny situation where we lost the key to my mom's car,
Oh,
or either the car or the place we were staying, and we had to like circle around a few times, and then it ended up being right by her car. I think it had fallen out of my mitten or something
oh
like that.
man, those I've
Yeah.
been there before, but those are the worst. You're kind of stressed.
Yeah.
It's cold. Will I get out of here? Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yeah. Are you guys used to having lots of snow in San Francisco?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's like that's like a blue moon kind of situation. Every few, maybe 100 years, you see snow hitting the city just because we're so low, altitude wise, sea level. So it's like you never see that. But right now it's just so much rain, which we need, of course, in California, just because of the drought and everything.
Yeah, I know it well, having lived in Los Angeles for 22 years.
Yeah, you already
So,
know that. You already you already
yeah.
know. So, I mean, it's good to see that we're like getting rain, but just not so much of this rain, just because I don't think the city was ready. I don't think anyone in Northern California was ready. And like, there's just been kind of like floods, and like, there's been some videos of people just getting their paddle boards out and just paddle boarding in right down in Union and SF. And it's just the weirdest thing I've been seeing. And I'm just like, good for
Wow.
them, but like, what the heck?
That is crazy. Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, but
Well,
it is what it is. But how? I mean, right now, currently, you're in Nashville right now.
yeah, I'm in Nashville. I'm actually house sitting for some friends, and I came here after the holidays, and before that, I was touring for about 4 months, and so I came here with the intentions of possibly moving here, like checking it out and seeing if I wanted to relocate here because I've basically been nomadic for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty insane, but um, somehow, right before the pandemic happened, my life kind of, I don't know, it was almost like I was taken out of the city and moved to Ojai for the first 9 months of the pandemic, and I was so grateful for that because I was already instinctively wanting to get out of my apartment in Silver Lake, and I definitely feel like I was being taken care of by someone someone higher in
Yeah.
the universe. They were like, "You're gonna not do well stuck in an apartment without a yard and nature and stuff." So um, that's a whole conversation, I
No,
suppose.
we're here. It's the Grantastic podcast. It's spiritual too, so that's great to hear. And I think something about nature, like there's something about getting away from the city. It just like it heals the mind. It heals the mind, the body, and just lets you like reset. Just because city living with the whole hustling culture and everything, it can kind of like break you down.
It can break you down and kind of destroy your soul.
Yeah. No, no,
you
preach it.
know?
It really can. And that's like, it's funny that you said Nashville because I've been thinking about that, like moving out to Nashville and everything, just because San Francisco isn't really known for. I mean, yeah, there's music, but it's not like the big like L.A., Nashville, New York, or Atlanta. It's definitely a little bit uh, unique of its own culture. But
Yeah.
something about like Nashville. I've never been there, but something like the music there is always just it makes you like I guess enthusiastic just to get out there and like work and collab and everything.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I got here with those intentions, and it's kind of I've realized in the last couple of weeks since landing here that uh, I think that Nashville, at least at this point in my life, because I almost moved here like 13 years ago as well,
Mhm.
because it's for me, it's always felt like it makes sense for me on paper,
Mhm.
and so I knew I didn't want to be in LA. Have known that for at least the last 5 years. But it's so hard to make a big move like that. And I moved to LA when I was 21, so I've spent my whole adult life there, and I built my career there and everything. And so there's a lot of anxiety going into like a big move like that. But once I got here, I kind of realized like I think Nashville is this place for me where it's like in my mind it makes sense on paper that I should be here, but there have been other things that have been going on in my life the last year especially where it's I it kind of just confirmed me for me that where I need to go is back to France, which is where my boyfriend is. And the
Sweet.
last place that I felt at home was in his chalet, and that's I don't know if I'll just be there. I don't know what's going to happen. I've been nomadic for the last few years, and so I don't know if that means I'm going to go there and live in France and then come to the US to tour and go back to France and live and then figure out touring in Europe.
Definitely.
That's actually my goal. But uh or it might be, I come back, I find a place here somewhere in the US that feels like home to me. Um and have a place here. But right now it kind of doesn't make sense, like
It's like it's a gut
I think
you'll know where it feels right and everything, where you connect, I think, with the community, and like get to know everyone and just like it's just a gut feeling. That's the only way I can describe it.
yeah, and I have to say, I put out my new record, New Girl, in June, and then since then have been touring that album and also finally getting to tour my last record because that was released right before the pandemic. So I didn't get to tour that one either. So I feel really happy that I was on the road and got to have that experience. But I drove all over the US. I mean, I drove from LA to New York. I did like one, two, three, four. I did like four drives. I've literally driven everywhere in the US, just about, except for the South and stuff
Mhm.
in Texas. But um, there's nowhere in the US that I feel
Yeah.
that feeling, And I thought I was gonna feel it here, but that was just me being mental,
Well,
you know.
what is it like, I guess, just comparing the two cities, Nashville and Los Angeles, in the music community? What have you noticed, like pros and cons?
Well, see, I haven't really been in Nashville long enough to experience the music community. I do have a lot of friends here that are musicians, and so I can only um, go off of what they say, and they say that it's a lot. There's a lot more community. It's more of a community here where people really um, support each other, and there's still like the competitive underlying competitive thing, I'm sure, of course, but I don't know if it just has to do with like people being in a city where it's still a big city, but it's not like Los Angeles where there's this in LA there's this underlying at least with the experience that I had in the last like 14 years is just um there's just a lot of competitiveness, a lot of um, I guess a lot of people are just very self-centered
Yeah,
because everyone goes there to become famous or successful in some way. And even if half the people you run into in the community are from a different state, because most people aren't from there. You know, I do actually know a lot of people from LA, and those are the most grounded people actually that are natives. I would say a lot of the transplants are the ones that come, and for some reason, there's like this almost like the spirit that takes over, and it doesn't help that everything is so far away and you have to drive everywhere. It's not walkable. Like I lived in Silver Lake, and one of my closer friends lived in Santa Monica, and I hardly ever saw her because it's like, oh, you live 35 minutes away. That's a long way.
get with the traffic and everything because like my mom's from like Long Beach and everything, so visiting down there and seeing the cousins and then meeting some friends and of friends, it's like just like you got to plan ahead. Your whole day's just sitting in traffic and everything, and just yeah, I just LA, not hating, it has its thing and everything, but just I love like at least NorCal, San Francisco, everything's close. You can walk to it, maybe it's 30, 40-minute walk, from like the Marina District to like Chinatown or something. It's not that far of a walk. Um, and like the biggest thing you were saying, like um, everyone like wants to help each other. I feel like in LA, it's just like you're focusing on you. And I went to a few parties and people were like just straight up like check my music out or check my like acting. And I was like, I don't even know your name yet. And you just kind of threw
Yeah.
I was just, I'm here to like let it happen naturally, the community, the friendship, and let it flourish on its own versus just showing me your projects.
Right. And a lot of what I experienced in Los Angeles was if I was more successful, if I had something happening, all of the little acquaintances that I had maybe met in the past who were we had a great connection, but they were just too busy doing their own thing because it's like once you have like a little bit of a spark happening in your career or something, or you post something on Instagram where you're like, I did this commercial or blah blah blah. It's like everyone's like, it's almost like they gravitate towards you again, and you get all these text messages or like, oh my god, I need to hang out. I'm like, it's just like, oh my god, fuck you.
Yeah, no,
Oh, whoops.
no, it's just okay. You can swear here. This is we let it all out. I say, but yeah, it's just I think it's like just like fake friends or whatever. It's just like
Yeah, there is a lot of fake energy there, and it's not everyone. I mean, I will say it took me about 10 years to finally meet some real friends that actually cared about me. And by that point, I was already ready to leave, and I had sort of um developed this hard shell sort of like that can't be real. You know what I mean? Like they can't really be interested in me as a person. Um, but I do take responsibility for my part of it too, because I think that when I started my career, I was 29. I wasn't like a kid starting out. And so I had this sense of I had just gotten divorced, and I had this sense of I have this new life that I wanted to create as soon as possible. And so I was like so focused on myself, right? So there was this sense of I need to do this as quickly as possible because I just lost like 20 in my whole 20s, you
yeah,
know? And so I'm sure a lot of the people that I attracted were similar to myself because that's kind of what ends up happening, right? But I can't take all the blame there because I really did try to make um, authentic friendships in those earlier days. And I remember at one point realizing, like, oh, I thought this person was my friend because we both play music and it's exciting and all of this stuff. And then you just kind of realize at some point, like, oh, we're just business friends. Okay. You know what I mean? And I remember feeling like kind of heartbroken over that at first. And then it's kind of sad, you sort of just get used to that after a while. But then over time, it just creates a quality of life that is lonely and unsustainable, you know? Um, so I love LA because that's just where I happened to be when I started my career, and I'm grateful for that chapter of my life, but it's definitely over.
Oh yeah, definitely. Everything you're saying, like I vibe, and for the people who will listen, for sure, just because there's a song I was listening to, actually, weirdly enough, it just came up on the Spotify algorithm. Mark Beno, I think his name is. Anyways, he's like from the '60s, from Austin. He has a song about the lyrics about like when you look into someone's eyes, you know they're your true friend. Like it just clicks. Versus the people who you look into their eyes, you don't see the soul or their love. It's something that's like, I'm butchering the lyrics, but something like spiritual. And I was just resonating to that, and hearing this, I was just like, yeah, you just know where it's like you see it, and it's like this person and I are just gonna be close. We're just gonna understand each other, and we have each other. Versus there's some people I see, like you meet people at functions or whatever, and you're just like, we have nothing here, but that's okay. We you live and learn. So
Right. And the thing that really bothered me there is that I kept thinking that if I was just genuine, that the people that I had those genuine moments with would be intuitive enough to pick up on that and also want to connect, whether one of us was more ahead in their career or not, whether one of us, whether they were famous or not famous, or whether I was like famous in their eyes or whatever. But it really, I have to say, most of people were just disappointing.
yeah, no, I definitely. I think it's when fame comes into it, people like forget like we're all human at the end of the day. We're all living things, or I don't know what I guess we're just, I don't want to say creatures. I don't know what the right word I'm looking for here, but just we're living, and we shouldn't like, if one person maybe did something amazing, but that you shouldn't let that ego take over you. It's just like
Mhm.
ego is the biggest, I think, thing that holds us back from being our true selves, and just, I don't know, listening to like,
Definitely. And I think, ego, I feel like this is what I feel about it, is that the ego, the ego comes up because people still have a lot of, they still have a lot to resolve in their past.
yeah,
And if you don't resolve, if you don't resolve your past, if you don't accept everything bad and everything good that's happened to you, and you don't resolve it, then your ego is going to constantly be like a driver in your life. And I think it's really hard to, unless you can be self-aware enough about, oh, that was my ego talking or whatever. Um, you're going to be like living unconsciously. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
for real. And it's hard. Like I was having this discussion with like a close friend a while back about just like, how do you tell someone who you care that they have this ego issue, and you want to tell them like, but not to hurt their feelings. You're just like, listen, you need to like chill about how you meet all these people, and you just kind of just talk about yourself instead of talking about what's about their lives. Like, how do you tell someone who you love that you have an ego issue, or you're being a narcissist? It's like, I don't know. I mean, you care, but you don't want to come off so like a dick or anything, and it's like it's like a balance. And I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on, I think, I think in America, it's really hard to tell people the truth
Yeah.
because in Europe, it's not a problem.
That's
My boyfriend is the most direct person I've ever met in my entire life, and he's French, so um, a lot of our communication problems in the beginning had to do with because like I'd be getting my feelings hurt, or I'd be offended, or my ego would be offended because he knows how to poke exactly where he needs to poke. And that's what a lot of French people do, is they poke you exactly where they can see.
we were okay. We're back. Sorry about that, folks. I think we were talking about like we were on the spiritual journey, which I just want to say love so much. Love having these conversations with like-minded folks, just because we need more of it. Um,
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
we were talking about France. That's where we kind of were left off about like how they just give it to you straight, which I think we need sometimes in our lives. Just because I think sometimes Americans like you did, which I love the visual thing. Just like they cover their eyes and they just don't want to hear about it or deal with it. It's like they can't like. I'm not saying every American's like this, but like criticism. I think it's like constructive criticism. I think it's so important to have because it helps you grow. We need it.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I wonder if America, I wonder if America is different than Europe in this respect because we were founded with this like Puritan culture. And
Yeah.
I think maybe it's something that's seeped into our culture,
Mm.
just like things that should not be talked about or,
Yeah,
you know,
definitely. I think there.
because
Go ahead.
people there talk very openly about sex and like, what the relationships are like and
No,
things that they do and you know what I mean?
no, it's a real thing because like I don't know, like uh my mom's a hippie and my dad is not so much of a hippie. I mean, he like listens to music and stuff, but my mom is like full on like, just tells me everything what it is. Like, was the first one who showed me how you really roll a joint. This is how you really smell. Like the whole deal, which I like love her to death still today. Um,
Yeah.
and then I talked to some other people's folks and everything, and they're just looking at me like, "What the fuck? Like, we don't, you don't talk." And it's like, well, there's nothing weird about it. We're just human, you know?
Yeah. It is weird. And then you just get this idea because of the programming that you've been raised in that this is the right way to be or
Yeah,
this is right or wrong.
definitely. It's interesting, especially definitely folks who've raised like I don't know back east, at least some of my cousins and everything. Like they're very like believe in the 9 to 5 job, get the pension, the formal like wear a suit and tie, go to church, like and I'm like I was more raised like yeah Catholic, but I'm more like wouldn't say Catholic anymore, more spiritual. Like I go to to the Hare Krishna temple and stuff, and I believe in just like karma and like you live your life now and everything, and then you go back into your consciousness at the end and everything. And it's when I have these conversations with them, they just look at me like I've been brainwashed, and then they give me a weird look like I don't know, I need like like the electric chair, whatever, like to fix your brain or whatever. And I'm like, bro, you guys need to chill. This is just who I am. You got to appreciate every walk of life for what they give you, and you take it. If you like it, great. If you don't, that's fine. Let them do their own thing.
Yeah. I was raised in like the evangelical Christian culture, you know? And I don't know, it's interesting. There's so many programs
Yeah,
that we're a part of.
yeah,
They're all at the end of the day that it seems like they're just programs of control, so
yeah.
we'll remain as unconscious as possible because whoever started these programs, I think we're actually afraid of how powerful humanity really is if you actually go inside of yourself and
Yeah,
resolve things.
definitely.
But I think people are, um, I mean, we're taught certain things as children about what life is and who we are and what's right and wrong and everything. So when you're a child, you're like a little sponge and you just believe whatever you're told, you
Mm,
know? So,
that's the biggest thing. And then you believe in whatever your folks say instead of going out in the world and learn for yourself. I think it's easy to just like agree what your folks have to say or like their beliefs and whatever, and it's not which do what you will with that. But I think it's good for you to go out into the world and experience life for yourself, and you make up your own decisions. You have a brain, you have a conscience, use it. Don't let people just spoon feed you like information. I think that's all about how life is. You got to grow and learn.
yeah, definitely. And I think that, oh gosh, I think I just lost my thought. Something about how I think if I find it so interesting when when they have their beliefs challenged,
Mm-hmm.
that they get so offended.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, even if you want to have an intellectual conversation about it, not necessarily a debate, just you're curious,
Yeah.
like, okay, tell me more about that. They get defensive because it's something that's become so part of their identity that they can't not be that.
Definitely.
Because if they let go of it, they're terrified of who they are. They don't know who they are.
Mm-hmm. Fact. You just you just nailed the points, which I just love. You're like, yes, 100%. Go off, Queen. Like, yeah, it's true. It's so true, and I think we need to change that. I think people need to like just don't get so, like you said, offended or just feel like they're being targeted. We're just like you said, you just want to understand. Like the greatest gift in life is knowledge, and you're just trying to understand someone's point of view and their knowledge to see if it makes sense or not, or line up with your knowledge. And you know, you don't need to start yelling or cursing or you know be aggressive. You just talk it out, relax, take a deep breath. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah, but I think, there is something to the fact that I can there's certain people in my life where I can't have those conversations, and I don't push it because I already know that they're not ready. And that's not to say that I'm better than them. It's just to say that we all have our own journey.
Yeah.
And at one point in my life, um, like when I finally, when it took me like 20 years um, to pick through my upbringing, like the conditioning that I had being raised in the church, because there was so much good attached to it as well, and there was so much um, that I felt had shaped it. It shaped me as a person. So I was like, if I don't have this, I don't know who I am. And so I do think that for me, it's like I think that people hold on to those things because it's so attached to their identity, and they're not really ready to grow and to evolve into what they're who they can become more of. I
Mhm.
guess that's maybe what life is all about. It's like, you live this story here, this chapter in this life here, and then you die and you become a different version of that somewhere else. I guess I'm not exactly sure how that works, but I do think that I feel that I've had many, many, many lives and different experiences, different genders, different
Yeah.
kinds of beings. It's like all of it is possible.
Yeah, the reincarnation's a real thing, like it's an interesting um and an appreciative interesting thought of like how, you know, I don't know if it comes from the Buddha or for the Hinduism, which one it like I think maybe they both believe in it, but like the idea of it, you like learn from your past selves and you try to be a better person from each life. You learn, then you die, and then you keep learning until you like the idea of Hinduism until you hit Brahma where you're just like you're good and then you're with the god Brahma. So
Yeah,
it
I
go
don't really know anything about um, either of those like religions. I suppose I think for me it's just sort of like an instinctual
yeah.
knowing that I've kind of
Mhm.
come to over the years. But I have found myself definitely like I don't identify myself as anything, because I think that once you identify yourself as something, that you're limiting possibilities. And so I don't really like. I used to identify as a Christian, but now I'm just like I'm Jamie.
Yeah, that's how it should be. Yeah, definitely. Do you feel that some of your music is spiritual? Like maybe it doesn't have like like Indian music or something like that, but like the words you write, you feel a connection to them deeply.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I think, I would say like the last record I put out, Everything's Fine, that a lot of those songs I wrote while I was going through my deconstruction of my faith. And like Oh Well, I wrote that song about the death of my relationship with God at the time, my idea of who God was.
Yeah.
Um, and in Wonder, I wrote that song. That was kind of like I was channeling when I was channeling this idea, and I didn't even know what it was about until later. And recently I've realized like that's what I do when I'm writing songs. I'm like channeling my future self, because 2 or 3 years from the moment I write a song, I'll have a moment where I'm listening to it or I'm singing it and I have this epiphany. I'm like, oh my God, I wrote that song 3 years ago for myself now. And it's like this crazy
Yeah.
kind of experience. And I feel like I feel really grateful to like be conscious enough to like be able to identify that, because it's a really cool, it's like it's like having a communion with myself in a weird way. It sounds kind of strange to say, but it's like I'm a part of the universe, and
Yeah.
the universe poured this into me and I don't understand it, but the me here on earth in this body gets to experience part of this like experience of the future in a song.
And in a
But
few,
yeah, Wonder was like, I kind of like, I thought, um, and then also too, like as I change, sometimes the songs take on different meanings for me too. And I guess it's the beauty of the song is like, once I put it out there, um, it's going to have a message for everyone wherever they're at.
mm,
Because when you listen to music, you, I think your soul maybe picks up on things that you're already going through in your life, and the songs that you're really connected to, you're like, oh, this is what this means, because that's where I'm at right now in my life. But it's kind of interesting.
yeah, I think what everything you're saying is it's not weird. I think it's just beautiful in its own shape and form. And um, it's crazy how you just said like, you write in 3 years, you just like you connect, and it's like, how did this happen? It's like you're like you're like kind of like planting the seeds ahead of time in a way, what the universe is granting you.
Yeah, it's almost like I'm preparing myself to understand a moment in my life in the future.
Yeah, you're learning your lesson.
And
Yeah.
yeah, like I wrote It's a Wonderful Life in 2017. I was at Echo Park Lake laying on a picnic blanket. And I got the song in my head and I started writing it. Um, and the first line is uh, laying on the grass, just staring at the sun. And I was in the grass staring at the sun, and I had this melody come to me. And like, so I was just like writing in the present moment. Um, but I wasn't writing specifically about what was going on in my life at the time. I thought I was writing it for somebody else.
Mm.
And then a few years later, after my record came out, that song is at the end of my record. I was listening to the album after it had been mastered, just to like listen to it. And I was listening to it on my kitchen floor. It was a little high. And I listened to the whole album. And that song, well, while I listened to that song, I just started weeping, because while that time in my life, me on my kitchen floor, I was like in this place in my life where I knew I was done with LA. I was in my apartment for like a month, but other than that, I had been Airbnbing it out like for the last 3 years, basically. So every time I go back there, it's like cute to be there for a little bit, because it feels like a little Janie Drake museum from her in her 30s, and she was like trying so hard to like do music, and it's really sweet. But then, I felt like I was kind of stuck in that place, and I was like, I don't know where I'm going next. So a lot of the lyrics in that song are about being afraid of what's coming next, because you don't know what it is. And at the end of it all, though, there's like this hopeful message. It's like, even though this is how I'm feeling, it's still a wonderful life. And so like that whole, it was like I was encouraging myself, and just having that experience of having my mind completely blown by the fact that I'd written that like 3 or 4 years beforehand. I was like, holy fucking shit. I think that's when I realized, like, when I'm writing songs, I'm like, it's like my future self is like leading me
Mm.
for a moment
Yeah.
in my future when I'm gonna like have this moment. And it's just a beautiful moment that I get to have with myself. Like it's not like I'm on a stage and I'm on Hollywood Bowl, like I'm just like, this is for me. And that's like the fact that I get to be somebody here that experiences that, that's a gift. It's crazy.
Definitely. I think that's so, amazing to hear and curious if like, because when he said all that, I think about this interview of like Paul McCartney talks about like how he wrote, Let It Be and it came through a dream and everything and with through his mom, it's okay. And it's like hearing everything you're saying. I mean, not a dream, but the idea of like planning ahead. It's like our consciousness. That's the moral of the picture here story. If like
Yeah.
how we deeply connect to it and it's like planning everything out or trying to talk to us. Like there's another person here. It's just not us in this one body. There's another thing living there, and it's trying to guide us when like times of trouble or something. And it's just fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I think it's like I like to call it my future self. Or, like I guess it's like it's my higher self.
Mm,
And um I think in the last like I don't think I know in the last few years as I've been really working on clearing out a lot of the past, um like old wounds and hurts and like just resolving things within, that I've been able to live my life a lot more in the present instead of living in the past, because as human beings we spend so much of our thought life in the past,
mhm.
um and regrets and things like that, or being angry or or hurt over different things. It's like I think once we resolve those things we can actually, I came into this experience and was like, oh my god, I can just live in the present all the time. And then I was like, I wonder how to unlock being able to live in the future.
Yeah.
And I do think that that's possible, and I have moments where that's happening. And I think that for me, when I write a song like that, I'm living in the future.
Mm.
That's something that's happening. Maybe. I don't know.
No, yeah, I think you made a great statement there. It's just like, once you like, I feel like heal your past, and once you like everything, I shouldn't say fine, but once you like come to terms with it and resolves, then when you can focus, after you finish one step, you're living in the present, you're living in the moment, you can appreciate what's around you, your walk of life, and then that's something like you're saying gives you the glimpse of getting to the future, and then experience a little taste of it, or helps you write about it, and then somehow boom, you already did this song. Like, I wish I had a song about something. It's like, wait, I do. It's right here, or it's a release, and it's like, holy shit, what the heck? So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool.
but would you say, like, so we're talking about everything's fine, but then New Girl, it would be more like the past, though, because you're talking in a few songs, talking about, bouncing different locations, school, your family.
Mhm.
Like, what was, I guess, the thought process writing those songs, as we were just talking about present and everything.
Yeah. So when I wrote the song New Girl, um, I had this kind of like fun, melodic, fun melody that felt to me kind of like a bossa nova kind of
I was literally
feel.
gonna say, yeah, I have it in my notes. You sounded like Astrid Gilberto for sure. Like when I heard
Oh
some,
wow, thank you. Maybe she helped me write it.
yeah, who knows?
um,
Yeah,
anything's possible. Um, but I had this fun melody in my mind, that was coming out, and I was having all of these memories flash through my mind. That memories I remember consciously from my childhood, and all of them had to do with me as a kid at different ages in different places, and feelings that I was having in those moments. And then the chorus, and then part of that moving was that I always had to go to a new school. Like I went to 9 different elementary schools before the 5th grade.
Mm.
So a lot of that stuff that was needing to be resolved when I was writing the song was helping me kind of comb through it and resolve it a little bit just by singing about it. Um, a lot of those like old past inner fears that my inner child has was from experiencing like having to start school and being the new girl at school all the time and being totally afraid and wanting to hide in the back of class and afraid to raise my hand and afraid to speak because I was definitely a lot more of an introverted child. So I didn't want to have the spotlight on me. And um, but like those were the feelings that I had as a kid oftentimes. And um, but then singing about it in this fun kind of a way, and then singing this chorus that's I'm always the new girl. God help the new girl. You know what I mean? It's like I'm always the new girl, the new girl. It's like um, it's just kind of fun, but
Yeah.
it's like you're singing about something that was uncomfortable in a really lighthearted way. So I felt like I think musically there was like a nice contrast. Um, and I think a lot of people can relate to having that experience. I've actually had a lot of people write to me. I had this 71-year-old woman write to me, like on Instagram or something, and say that she'd heard that song for the first time, and it brought her back to when she was a kid and she was growing up and she moved around a lot, and that inside she still feels like that 9-year-old girl, and so being able to relate to other people because of the experiences I've had, it's like it's a cool thing to be able to do through music. Um, did I answer your question?
No, you did. I mean, more questions pop from that, like, which is great. Yeah, I think the song is like, it's one of those types of songs that are just, what's the right word? I don't know if you can play it over time, you know what I mean? It's a classic. It just has a vibe where,
Well,
there's certain songs where it's like it hits a century, like this is 2000, this is 90s, this is the song that you can play. You played this back in the 60s or 70s, it would fit in perfectly. It has that tone and sound
thank you.
and warmth where it's like, yeah, when I first heard it, because again, shout out. I don't know how I found your music, but it just happened. We're here now, which I'm blessed and thankful for. And it was just like, oh my God, this is going straight to my bossa nova playlist and everything. And then I went to go listen to your album and everything. And I was like, you do. It's just not only bossa nova. You do folk. You do, pop. You the string sections in some of your songs. I'm like, oh my God, like you do it
Aw,
all, which is super great. And but it's timeless. That's the word I'm looking for. Your music is timeless. It doesn't matter what era it is. It can fit in with anywhere, which I think is amazing of itself. And yeah,
thank you so much. I mean,
yeah,
that's definitely an intention that I have when I'm writing and recording my stuff. So I'm
yeah.
glad that it comes across that way.
Definitely, and I think it's great that, I don't feel like a lot of people, maybe they do, this younger generation doesn't know what I feel like what bossa nova is, so it's great just to hear that. Like when I heard those guitar, the style playing, I was like, the 2/4, all right, there we go. And it was just, and then the percussions, and I mean, did you, because bossa nova is its own form of playing. I mean, I'm assuming, do you know a lot of different styles of guitar playing, would you say, or did that song take a second, or was there another?
No, I don't. It's like as a songwriter, I can kind of morph into different genres and stuff. But as a guitarist, I'm a good folk guitar player. But for those different albums, I had different producers and guitar players on them. Like for this album, it was my dear friend and Austin Miles Grant. He played all the guitars, all the bass. He played most of the drums as well, except for on Easy Target. And we play together live whenever we're in the same area. So I love playing with him. He's an incredible guitarist and also an amazing solo artist as well.
Sweet. Love it. That's amazing. I gotta have him on then and talk to him about his creativity.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you say, let's say when you don't have other producers, is it easy for you to like just kind of compose your own song, or how is your structure, would you say, when you like going into like, you know, writing or like composing a song? Is it the same? Is it different?
Well, are you asking about the writing, like when I'm writing the song, or when it's getting like produced and you're adding the different elements that you hear in your mind?
I guess the second question.
Okay. Yeah. So for for my last record, Everything's Fine, um, I made that with AJ Minette. And when we were starting out, um, see, I actually put out my first solo album in 2009, but no one can find it because I took it down, which I regret now. It was an egoic choice, basically. Before I put out the first single for Everything's Fine, which was in 2018, I took that album down, and it was called When I Was Yours. So for Everything's Fine, when AJ and I started working together, we were just playing music together, and he wanted to, have someone produce our album, and I was like, it's super expensive, because the experience I'd had with my first record is that I got divorced and I ended up spending like 17 grand on the record when I could have probably spent a lot less. I had no idea. I was such a noob, and someone kind of took advantage of me. And then his response was like, "We're gonna do this ourselves." And I was like, "Okay." And he's like one of the most. He's one of he's. He, I rarely say this about anybody, but I really do feel like he's kind of like a genius. When it comes to like figuring things out, he basically taught himself how to engineer, mix, and produce everything like by watching YouTube videos. And this is the kind of person who would like he's a classical guitarist too, so he'll like practice for 5 hours a day. So together because we're so different. Like I used to like to say that like he's like Michelangelo, like chipping away at something like very precisely, and I'm like Jackson Pollock. I'm like, let's take this and throw it at the wall and see what happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
definitely. I love that.
our two styles together ended up creating a really nice balance, because sometimes what he wanted to do was way too perfect, and I was like, no, we need to fuck it up a little bit, so Everything's Fine was the result of many years of him and I working together and developing our own production style. And if you're curious, you can hear our first album that we produced together, and it's under the name Nobel, and it's a picture of him and I. We made an EP in like 2014, after developing the sound together. And when I say developing a sound together, I mean like he's definitely more of a technical guy, but he's also very like a musical person. Like he wrote all the string parts and played all of the instruments and things, but they were definitely production type elements that I would come up with, where I'd be like, I hear like this melody being played with this kind of like an instrument, And so when I was first starting out with him, I was very much part of the production of it and exactly what I wanted it to sound like. And I was a little bit of a control freak, because I wanted it to be the opposite of experience as to what I'd had, in 2009, where I was like this kid coming in with, a bag of money and, this producer and he did everything and I didn't like it, you know? Um, so to balance that out, that's what happened when I was with AJ. So for New Girl, I had a different experience because everything was, first of all, Everything's Fine took us 4 years to make. And part of the reason is because I was a part of like a lot of different projects at that time. But when I made New Girl, it was just me and Austin and my producer, Rich Jacks, in a house in the Santa Monica Mountains, recording in this house for 2 weeks.
Cool.
And it was a very organic experience. And it was the kind of experience I wanted to have because I wanted the record to sound like it was made in like, the early 70s or something.
Yeah.
And all of the tracks are like, I only did like a few takes on every track. And because my producer wouldn't let me do more than that. Like, well, he would let me sing until we got the right take, basically. But I wanted to do single takes. I didn't want to do a bunch of chopping and copy pasting and stuff. So these two albums are like very different. Like Everything's Fine is a lot more cerebral, even though it's like lush and gorgeous. Like it's very much like me and AJ Minette. And then this New Girl album is like more of like me with my heart open, and it's like more organic and totally different processes.
Yeah. I like both of them. I just want to point out because like,
Thanks.
I think the biggest thing, it's natural. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel forced when I listen to your music because there's some music I feel like with some artists they try to just be relevant, and just trying to get the listens or likes or whatever you want to call it nowadays, or just on the playlist. Versus you're not focusing on that. You're focusing on you and what your heart and mind wants to preach. And
That's true.
yeah,
Thanks.
yeah, well, just speaking from the heart and just what I'm observing here, which is what we need more of, like, because the music I love is that timeless music. You can talk it from, Tom Jobim from Bossa Nova to, I don't know, Bruce Springsteen or Bill Evans for jazz or
Yeah.
the Dead Kennedys or the Brian Jones Massacre or just all these different peoples or Janis Joplin. I could go on with different fucking people here all day, but I'm just you get
Yeah, definitely.
when I hear their music, it feels like they're speaking from the heart or whatever the soul or what's going on in their life in that time, and that's a timeless music because like it could be so relevant to wherever you are in 2040, 2020, whatever, and your music's the same, going back to what I was saying, like you can listen to that song and like take you said 71-year-old woman, still feels like a 9-year-old. That was the thing. Like there was this interview from George Harrison and Ravi Shankar where it's like, we might be old, and this is when they were old, like in their 80s, but like our spirits will always be kids. Will always will be that, 20-year-old, and he was like, I think Robbie was a little bit older, like the 30-year-old will always will be that inside of us. And it's like, it's so true. It doesn't matter. We're just old outside, but the inside will always be young.
It's true. Definitely.
Yeah. It's,
Can't lose that either because then you just die inside.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's why you guys stay pure and just and it's hard with like social media and like people trying to follow trends and stuff. It's important to be true to yourself. And I think definitely with music, it's it's like a way to escape. It's a way, you don't have to worry about society. I don't know about you, when you create music, you feel like it's a place where you don't feel judged or whatever. You can just be Jamie Drake.
hmm Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting day and age to be making music and wanting to stay true to yourself and also, like part of you hoping that you can be relevant to like, like if it's my job, like my paying my rent and all that stuff depends on having that relevance or um all of that. And for the most part throughout my career, my steam has just been from the joy of creating it and the joy of getting to just live my life. Because when I started out, it was like I felt like I had a second chance at life because the choice I had made in my youth to get married to the wrong person, it took up so much of my time. And then I was like so happy. Like I literally felt like I was being dug out of a grave and getting another chance to live. And so to actually get to experience that in my life over these last like 14 years or so, it's like I'm so grateful for it. And I will always be a songwriter and musician, but I think right now I'm kind of in this like I sort of feel like I'm in this like in like limbo where I'm going through some kind of evolution of myself. And I don't really know what that means. I'm excited about it. But it might mean that maybe I take a little break and just like enjoy life.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, you
You
mentioned
know?
a point about like it's your job. Or I like the word career because I feel like jobs like you're working for the man, and
Yeah, right.
I'm not here for that man. But yeah, I realize, do you do music because you love it, but also you have to bring in people who are interested in what you're doing. It's a balance. Like I realized life in general. I think it was Ram Dass who said it's like life is a balance. You can't have too much of one thing or it'd be too saturated and then it'd be too much. You got to like balance it out with pros and cons. And I think it's a, you do it looks easy, but I know it isn't. Just as seeing the curtain, like the music you make, um, I enjoy it, and you, I hope, enjoy what you do with the songs and everything. But also, you got to make sure, will someone connect to it as well? I realize it's hard to connect to that.
Yeah. I think, having been on tour for most of the second half of the year, it's funny because in my career, I have spent a lot of time in the studio and like in that creation process and in the writing process. And I didn't spend as much time touring because I wanted to figure out who I was as an artist first. And that took me a really long time. You know, I was a part of 3 different bands and a solo artist and had different recording projects. All of it was like me, kind of like being a scientist and like working in there, like trying to figure out like, okay, who am I? Because I think that was important for me because as a songwriter, I can write like a lot of different kinds of songs, and I didn't want to be pigeonholed necessarily as one specific style. But then, by the time I figured out who I was, it was sort of like all these great things were happening, and then it was like, okay, we got a tour, and don't get me wrong, I really like touring. Like emphasis on like as opposed to love. um, it's I think the logistics as you're getting older are just it's I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I'm not in my 20s or my 30s. um I'm I spent 4 months like on the road with my little dog Moxie. Hey, come here. Moxie, come here. Come here. Come say hi. Okay, I need to get her.
Yeah, we're here for it. We're here for it. Amazing. Oh my God. Adorable.
So here's my girl.
What kind of dog is Moxie?
She is a multi poo.
Love it. Adorable. How old?
She's 10.
Oh my God. Still cute. Like a puppy.
Thank you. So, um, so I toured with my dog
That's awesome.
in my Honda Element for 4 months, and I made that shit work. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, and meanwhile, I'm not living in my apartment in Los Angeles. Someone else is renting it, and I don't know where I want to live. So being a touring musician is actually perfect for me because I'm traveling around anyway, right?
Yeah.
staying with different friends and family, staying in hotels and all that stuff. But it's like super adventurous. And I'm super adventurous. But I think I've just reached this kind of point in my life where I'm like, I just wanna I just wanna live comfortably for a little bit. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And the touring thing, um, actually, a lot of people have terrible touring experiences. My experiences have been great. Even when I've had shows canceled, I was able to pull together like this kick-ass house concert in Pittsburgh, like, and I was able to like meet fans who'd been fans of me for years. Like, I was totally, um, I was just like surprised, like I had my show in Philadelphia and in New York. I had people waiting in line afterwards to talk to me for like 40 minutes and just signing vinyl and stuff. And I'm like, oh, this feels great. Like I finally get to do this. You know what I mean? Um, but it is like, oof, lots of driving, and I've actually slept great too. Um, but there's just a lot of different experiences I've had now where I'm just like looking into my future and thinking, if this is the quality of the tours that I'm getting, like if this is like it kind of feels like, okay, universe, I've opened my heart completely and I've given everything, all of myself
Mm.
to this life that I've chosen. I've written these songs and it's and I've been true to myself. And at some point, like I did think that there would be a return for my work. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Like
Not like, not like, oh, poor me. Why am I not like Brandy Carlisle or whatever? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
not even that level. I'm just saying, like, could you give me a little bit of a bigger break here? You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, it's just sort of like, it's like, it's just sort of a thought that entered my mind. I was like, wow, I've really given my whole heart to this experience in my life. And I'm so grateful for it. And I'm so grateful for being true to myself. But there's also the other side of like, is this, if this is the quality of the tours and everything, like, given my age and um, I'm a durable person and very adventurous, but what do I want? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, if this is my life for the next 20 years, it's not going to work. You know
Well,
what I mean?
maybe, like just going back to what you were saying, like when we were first talking, is that maybe America isn't the place. Maybe once you go to France and once you do the Europe tour, you get that reward. Like the universe is like, Jamie, it's here. You just gotta take a flight and pop over to Europe, and you will have it all. And it like that's what it is. It's like keep doing what you're doing. You're just in the wrong location. That's what it could be. Also.
I appreciate that. I think that's a very, like, I'll accept that. Um,
Because you see North America, well, I mean America at least. I don't know if you went up to Canada or anything.
no, I haven't gone up to Canada. Actually, not since 2016 or whatever. Um, but yeah, I like that. Thanks for planting that seed.
Yeah, I mean, like, just don't give up because I think the biggest thing, which I've realized, is you got to like keep pushing even when it seems like you've done every avenue. Just like it's like pivoting. You just got to keep pivoting to find it because like if this is what your gut is telling you, I truly like at least for me, like I believe in if the gut says this is it and it feels right, then you should do it. And you should just try to find a way. Maybe like, you didn't feel Nashville, so you're gonna go to France, which could be great. And you said you felt comfortable and it felt good there, and the people and your boyfriend's there, and it's like that.
Yeah.
If that feels good inside and it feels right, then by all means you should do that. And you shouldn't feel you should be stuck here in America. And I feel like a lot of people just kind of are like they're like, oh well, we tried, and it's like no, you should keep going, motherfucker. You should keep on pushing until you get what you want. if you work hard and you truly believe in it, it will happen. Just it takes time. You just gotta be patient, which I can understand can be hard with ADD and stuff. It's like you just want it now, and you're like, oh my god, and yeah,
Well, it's like any other careers that I would like. If I would have chosen to go to school to be a doctor at some point, I would have been able to expect a certain amount of return for my work, And with the arts, it's kind of all a gamble. And it's like I really did believe truly in my heart, like if I'm putting out excellent work, if I'm doing everything I can in my power, and if I'm staying open to the universe, like blessing me or whatever, like some things are going to incrementally get better. And it's not like it hasn't, but it's just sort of feels like, you're surmounting this mountain that's never ending. You know what I mean?
definitely.
And I know that that's sort of part of what life is, but I guess at the end of the day, though, I feel good. I feel really good about everything, my work, what I've done, and I don't feel like I'm quitting. I feel like I just accept whatever is next.
Hmm.
And I feel like I'm in a really good place of just being proud of my work and being proud of where I am and how far I've come on my own steam, um and like and also totally accept whatever is next. Like if I go to France um and I don't make another record for another year or two, like if
Yeah,
that's what I'm supposed to do, then that's what I'm gonna do.
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what's next, but I I do definitely. It's in my heart to like tour Europe and
yeah.
um,
We should see everything. Just hearing as you're like adventurous, you have to see Europe, see Asia, you know, see it all. New Zealand. Like I feel like there's so many places where like you can learn and like get inspired. I feel like also you were talking about how you did different records in different locations. I feel like location matters when you get inspired. In the old days, I don't know why I had to say it in that kind of sentence, but like as some of my mentors taught me, and they told me in their experience in life, when rock bands or let's keep it as rock bands, like they would travel, go to a place, be there for a few months to write, their record, like Led Zeppelin went to Scotland and they were in a fucking castle. That is just so rad to hear that idea. Or like you see, if you ever saw the Queen movie, they were in a barn somewhere in I don't know where in London, and just like getting out of somewhere different. I feel like it's so important because like what you see and you feel and the fresh air or the grass, you feel the soil or whatever. It's like it can really create something in your brain where it's like I want to write about this. Like maybe I want to write about a Highland cow that's just like in the pasture eating or grazing.
yeah, who
And
knows?
it becomes a hit song. Like what the heck? So I think
Well, I have to say, like when I go back to when I'm in France, like the thing that I feel there most is that I can just be.
mm,
And so part of me is like, does that mean I'm never going to make another record because I feel totally great to just be?
yeah.
And that's an interesting thing to ponder.
Or maybe it's just you're gonna take some time and just see where this journey takes you for a bit. And it doesn't mean you're not like you could still be like just doing like songwriting on the side or whatever on your day or whatever it feels right, but you're just in the moment, just at one, just being Jamie, just in France with bicycles and cigarettes and all the good stuff and coffee. I know there's more stuff to it, but I'm just throwing what I've seen or heard. Uh, you're just with your boyfriend and just going on nice walks with the dog, and just like appreciating life. And I think it's okay to take a few years off and just like come back when you're ready. You shouldn't be forced, because people can tell.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's definitely changed for me is I don't have this like momentum of like I need to like make my stamp. On my first album, by first I mean everything's fine. There's a song called Make a Spark on it. And it was the first song I wrote. It was in 2015. And when I wrote that song, I was like, oh my God, I need to make a new record. Um, and there's a line in it where it's like, um, I'm I'm lying in the dark, or I am crying in the dark. I just want to make a spark. How can I be a work of art if I'm a coward with my heart?
Yeah.
And that was in 2015. Jamie, in 2023, I made a spark. You know, like I, I finally made a spark. I really did. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people know my music now, and I've played for a lot of people, and I've made a spark. You know, so if that, so now that I've like basically said yes to myself and I did the thing that my heart needed to do, now what? That's kind of where I'm at right now. It's like I have no idea. It might just maybe I just turn into consciousness and float up into the sky.
Would you say, you know, if you got in that spark in your 20s or 30s, would you be in a different situation? Would you not want to go, or would it be the same feeling?
I don't know. I've often thought about that, you know, because I actually got my first manager when I was living in New York City. I was 19 years old. I was playing my songs in the subway for like grocery money. And like I was a worship leader at a church in the East Village, and this guy went to my church, and he used to be like he was like a he was like a modeling manager or something, and he started managing me. And I had like it's interesting to see like how our lives, like we have different, I feel like I could see like what that path would have been like if I had like not been so afraid to just like trust that the world had this adventure, this musical adventure that I could have started when I was 19. And I, you know, instead I like hid my head in the sand and did what I thought I was supposed to do, which was get married really young to a like Christian guy. And, you know, like, I often think about that. Like, I wonder what that life would have been like, because I would have gotten to experience being young and doing music as a kid, and like probably would have been in some bands and toured a bunch when I was younger and made some terrible music. And, you know, I don't know what would have happened. Like,
It's like there's like a movie, I'm blanking on the name. It's like where she like sees different like universes of her life, or whatever, and just I'm blanking on the name of it. Wanna
I think I've heard of that. And I don't think I've seen it though,
It's
but
a
it's
good movie. It's a little weird. They have like a reality where they have sausage fingers and everything. Don't know where.
ew.
It's a yeah. It's quite interesting. But like the majority of the story is like just like she sees the different lives. Like she has a daughter and they have beef, but like seeing the daughter and how she turns out and stuff, it's like whoa. And hearing if you didn't get married and everything, you did the music. It's always that what if, like why are we in this, why am I on this path? And I feel like there's a reason why. It might not make sense or it's hard, but maybe hopefully, at the end of it all, like it made sense, or like I'm glad it went this way or something.
Well, you know, I know why. And it's because even back then, I didn't feel like I was ready.
Okay.
I didn't feel like I knew who I was yet. And I really wanted to know who I was before I was exposed to the public, if you will.
Mhm.
Um, and it's weird too, because like at the time I lived in New York, I was 19, and people like Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears were really popular back then. I just thought to myself, nobody wants to listen to some girl play folk music right now. It's like, um, it's like not cool. But I don't know. It'd be interesting because like, I thought I thought before, like, oh, maybe if I would have started younger, I would have had like this crazy career by now, or maybe I would have not been ready for it and I would have given up.
Yeah. Well, do you ever feel like you were like in the wrong century, like you should have been born in the 60s and then you
Yeah,
you're in the 70s? Yeah, because you seem like an old soul. That's the vibe.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. My whole life I've felt that way, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you're in the right era. Like now, like, with all the folk music and everything, and all these artists like Phoebe Bridgers, Maggie Rogers, like just hearing some of the music, which I love, and it's just like it fits well. I think that was just like an era where electronic music, people were like, "Oh my God, digital, this is crazy, man." And now it's like today, it's like, yeah, we have digital and Pro Tools, but everyone still loves the tape, the reel to reels. They love the analog tubes and everything because there's something about that sound that, at least to me, where it's like you can't beat it. It's just with all the plugins and stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Which,
It's I'd love to record to tape one day. That'd be really cool.
yeah, definitely come to High Street Studios, man. We're always here. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, is that yeah.
that's like where like I do my work and everything. So
Nice.
Crosby, Steele, Nash Young recorded Deja Vu there.
No way.
Janis Joplin, Grateful Dead, Dead Kennedys.
Oh,
Um,
cool. So
um,
is that are you an engineer or something then
yeah,
or
like an apprentice right there for right now. Learning from an
very
engineer,
cool.
which is super great. And yeah, every day, like the bass player for the Dead Kennedys, he has a band called East Bay Ray. He comes in all the time, hangs out in the back area, just smoking weed and just like have his cappuccino, and they're always chilling and everything. And I'm like, and they have so many lava lamps, and just like there's so much history there, and like the furniture is still the same. Like they still have the same walls. You can like see it. It's like the history. It's crazy, and yeah, there's something to appreciate about it for sure.
That's so cool. Yeah. I mean, I have a tour this spring and I'm sure I'll be coming through San Francisco, so I'll have to keep in touch with you.
Yeah,
Probably
definitely.
won't be there longer than the day of the show, but
Yeah,
you know.
still come through, get to see it all, like even record it. It's I think the crazy part about High Street Studios is that they have a lot of pictures of like film photos, black and white and color on their walls, and Studio A is the main one, is what it's known for. And there's this one picture where you see Jerry Garcia, um, David Crosby, and I'm blanking on the bass player. And like they're in Studio A and they're playing, and you see Crosby with a joint in his mouth, and they're just jamming. And then you go into Studio A and you see the exact area like where they were standing, where everything was. Like they haven't changed. I mean, maybe they got some new carpet and stuff, but overall it's the same aesthetics from what it was back then. And like the Neve mixing board, which is
Cool.
it's just and the
That's
Studer,
awesome.
yeah, Studer tape machine, and they have a Fairchild and the original Pultex, and like
Ooh,
it's like a candy shop for any audio engineer who goes in and just wants to have fun and record.
that's awesome.
Yeah, but you're in Nashville too, so I'm assuming you have friends who own amazing studios, probably with like the gear and just reel to reels and all the analog stuff that you probably could go in.
Yeah, it's funny though because I've been here over like Christmas and New Year's, so everyone's gone.
Yeah, okay, that can make it a little hard. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's just like I could be anywhere right now, I could just be in like a cabin in the woods. It's kind of the same experience as
Yeah,
far as
that's a good place to make music. You know what I mean? And get it out
yeah.
there. There's something I wanted to ask about your cover art. I love it. And then also your short clips on like Spotify Reels. Like I see you're using actual like I think they're called Super 8s or something, like the actual like film cameras. Um
Oh, it might just be an effect that was on it, but
oh, so it's not a real, okay, okay. I thought it was like a real
well,
camera on your I'm blanking on which song it was, but
well, so all of those clips are actually from my music videos for different songs.
okay,
So
cool.
on my YouTube page, that was one special thing that I'm so proud of. Um, that I got to like be a part of making. I did like 4 music videos for this album. Um, and started making music videos with a friend of mine during the pandemic. So we made 2 for Wonder. We made the first one actually, I just posted on my YouTube page. He filmed a one take on his iPhone of me walking down the beach and like singing the song.
Okay.
But enough, the second one we did was like one take of me doing a spontaneous dance to OLOL. And at the end of it, there's like this surprise. You can have to just watch it.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, for this last record, the first video I made actually was this totally serendipitous experience. I flew to Lisbon in Portugal, and um, I went there on a total whim. It was 4 days after I finished recording my record. I had been talking to this guy that was my first boyfriend when I was like a lot younger. We had like touched base again, had been talking a bunch over that year. And he was going to Lisbon. And then I just had this fire in my gut. I was like, I'm going to come visit you in Lisbon. Because he lived in Hong Kong. And I was like, oh my God, it's like, maybe it's destiny. Yeah. So like, I fly to Lisbon.
Yeah.
The first day I'm there, I meet my boyfriend, my now boyfriend. And like, so it's so crazy because like the whole reason I went there was so that I could have this meeting with Serge. And um and then like during the time I was in Lisbon, I met an old friend who used to live in LA with his wife, and he's a director, and we went out to dinner. At the end of dinner, I was like, man, I really wish I could have made a music video here. And then Brandon looks at me and he's like, let's do it. And I was like, yes. So the next day, which was the last day I was in Lisbon, we get together, just him and I, and he comes to the Airbnb where I'm staying, which is, by the way, like more of a B&B experience. So I like asked my hosts, who were actually French, if I could like film my music video there. And they said, yeah. And the place is insane. It looks like a Wes Anderson film.
Oh,
So we did a music video for my song. It's called It's a New Life. So we made this music video. I come back to LA. I made 3 more music videos. I did one for Easy Target. I did another one, which was also like a serendipitous event. Like my friend did a photo shoot for me one day. And then she's like, why don't we just try and do a music video? And she just had her camera and did 3 takes. And it's for my song Beginnings. And then the last music video I did with my friend for Is There Something Wrong with Me? And Moxie's in that one.
amazing. I'll have to put the links into that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I can send you the link for my video collection if you want to check them
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, definitely.
To me, it's a really beautiful thing that I've got to be a part of producing those myself, because my ex-husband was a music video director. And so all through my 20s, I was like helping him edit and come up with concepts. And I used to do wardrobe for music videos. So
That explains why your outfits are so groovy and fabulous and everything. It's like good
um,
vibes and
thanks.
yeah, no, I because like that is like that was another thing, aesthetic. Like, you had this like Joni Mitchell, just vibe, whatever your outfits for, and like how like it was just groovy. I was like, what thrift stores were you going to? Because I love finding old vintage like, bell bottoms or, just like corduroy jackets, or anything like that. There's something about it.
Well, I think for me, and I think for me, the trick is, because I don't really like shopping. I think it's when there's the moment when you need something.
Get it.
Uh, like if you're in a thrift store, just try to feel like even like put your fingers down like over certain things, and like let your eyes sort of glaze over, and sometimes something will poke out to you. Just pull it out and be like, oh, that's a thing.
I like that.
It's like shopping by energy.
Yeah, we're here for it. We love this whole spiritual aspect of it, so I'll definitely um we'll have to try that. And there's I think this I don't know, second to last or final question, either one is where it's like this idea, which I just love how you just, you do it. You just talked about how you went to Lisbon and you're like, I'm gonna do it and everything. And I think being an adventurous is so important and I think it's so good. But how, as a musician and for other musicians who are listening to this or trying to figure it out, how do you make it work? How do you, because financially, it can be tough here and there. And it's like, what have you experienced or learned that you could pass the knowledge on to someone who wants to just go see things and do their music in different locations, but have a hard time getting the money or trying to save up?
Mm. Well, I definitely had a day job in the beginning. which I think, can be important, is important. But I figured out a way to only work 2 days a week. So the rest of that time I was recording and being creative and stuff. I haven't had a day job in the last 6 years or so, 7 years maybe, I don't know. And I think part of that was because at some point, after many, many years of waiting, I actually had started having like some royalties coming in. So that's been one income source, but it's not like a ton. It's not like I can like pay all my bills in 1 month. You know what I mean?
I know you do the classes. I saw your website where you give like songwriting teaching. I think that's what it was, right?
Oh, I've done a lot of that, and it's like one of those things where it's like I enjoy doing it when it happens, and so I put it on my website as something thinking that people might be interested. But I've only had like a handful of people that have, reached out to do it, um, which is fine. It's like it is what it is. But I don't know, honestly. I think I've just found a way to juggle the live the live show income. It's definitely Airbnb my apartment that has actually saved my ass because um yeah, someone else is paying my rent,
Yeah.
um someone else paying my rent. I mean, like I was on tour anyway, so someone else is paying my rent, and then I stay in a lot of places. People, friends or family are like, yeah, you can stay. Like I had a friend in Colorado who was like, I had 2 weeks between tours. He just let me stay on the bottom half of his house. Like it's a whole other, I had my own private place for 2 weeks. He didn't charge me. Um, like, and he put on a show for me and paid me. It's just like stuff like that where you just have to like, I think when you believe in yourself and what you're doing and the magic of it, you can't let your brain hold you back so much.
Yeah.
Because if you're supposed to do something, then the universe is going to provide for you.
Yeah.
And so, the universe has always provided for me. And like, usually what happens for me is like something kind of magical or weird will happen and I'll make a bunch of money. You know what I mean? It's like, I was in this random Chevy commercial a few years ago and I made like a shit ton of money. And I was like, what? And then when the pandemic happened, I was able to get unemployment because of that job.
Sweet.
And, like there's other hacks where it's like, if you're an artist and you're not making a lot of money, sign up for the low income gas and electric. Like everyone offers low income programs. Like look up all the low income stuff. Instead of paying for health insurance, get Medi-Cal.
Yeah.
If you're not making enough money to pay insurance, sign up for free insurance. You know what I mean? Like there's all kinds of like government programs that you can like hack,
Definitely.
And if you're an artist, you're doing the work of the soul. Like just because you're not being thanked for it in monetary gain, like some people are, but most of us aren't. Like the universe will pay for your life to work. It's and that I'm a living example of it because I'm just like, fuck this. I can't work in a corporate environment. I'm not that kind of person. I couldn't even do it if I tried. Like, I have to be like my own boss. I have to be free. I can't have somebody with a thumb over me. It's like, it's hard enough for me when I was trying to work in a restaurant, it's like, but yeah, there definitely have been times in my life though, where I was like, shit, why didn't I go back to college when I was married and my ex-husband would have happily paid for me to get more schooling, to like get some degree and like, or become a realtor when I was sitting on my ass and when I was 25, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah. Don't take advantage of your youth when you have it. It's like, if you have like an idea to do something else on the side that you're also interested in, like, don't say no to that because you have like a specific idea and maybe this is me just talking to my younger self. It's not to deter anyone from doing the art or the work that they should be doing. Um, but I just will say the reality of it though is like, you know, I'm in my 40s now, and it's like the physical body is a shit. It just starts like certain things start happening. Like after this last tour, my elbow started hurting, and now I have to wear like I have to ice my elbow every day because I have tennis elbow.
Yeah, I was gonna say tennis elbow. Yeah, shit.
And I'm like, I got tennis elbow, and then this shoulder's got some weird thing happening, and it's like it's hard to keep up the body as you're getting older. So definitely take advantage of youth while you have it, and um, yeah, I don't know. It can't hurt. I was reading this article in the New Yorker, and I think it was like the guy was interviewing Todd Rundgren. He was talking about how, you know, being in the studio and stuff like that, and how he's like still in his 70s, he's still making records, and he's always had access to all of the equipment, so he's never like felt limited in a financial way because like he's making a bunch of money and it's like a producer or engineer or whatever. And I was reading this sentence, and he said like something like how he'd never been limited in the way that maybe other people who've kind of quit their artistic career um, because he always had like a day job or whatever. And I and there's and it just kind of hit me, and I was like, yeah, it's true. Things do get a lot harder as you do get older, and if you don't hit a certain level in your career where you're just like, everything's happening, life is easy, everyone knows my name, oh, this person's calling me up and I'm going to be the voice of this character on this thing or whatever. It's like, and it's not to say I haven't had opportunities like that. It's just like they're kind of random when they do happen. Even actually recently, I had a really cool gig, co-writing a song and then performing the vocal performance for it for this TV show called Quantum Leap. And the episode just came out a few days ago, and I got to write the song with my composer friend. Her name's Jamie Jackson, and we wrote the song, and then I sang the vocal performance. And it's just like, man, I wish I could do at least one of those a month. That would be amazing, because the income's great.
Definitely.
But that's just the thing, is like, I think once you try to hold too tightly to having something specific, it's you can't count on it happening necessarily. I don't know. There has to be some balance between having a target and never giving up, and like remaining open and accepting everything, accepting everything that happens and being grateful.
Definitely.
Because like, there's a different version of me that could be sitting here and be like bitter because I didn't get the, specific things that I was like, oh, by the time I'm this age, this is going to be happening in my career. It's all a balance, I guess.
Yeah, I think basically it's a balance, and with this kind of like work industry, you just gotta have different outlets, like different plugs and stuff. So yeah, like audio engineer, but then like do sync licensing, like for like beats or for commercials to use, and then like you said, like make stuff for other clients, and then little ads, jingles. It's crazy how much money can rack up from an ad. Like you gotta have different outlets, and then do gigs, and then even corporation gigs. Like who knew how much they pay? I didn't realize that. Um, so it's like you gotta be accepting, and like what I've realized in this year for 2023 is just like go with the process, trust the process, and accept when something comes to you. Don't like you're like I don't know, just say yes, I'm gonna do it, and just see what happens, because you don't know who you're gonna meet from there. That's the most important part, I realize.
That's true. That's definitely true. I like that.
Yeah, you just gotta be open-minded, and sometimes it can be hard, but it's like the more you're open-minded and the more you just kind of go and accept what life brings you, a lot of crazy shit, like you said, can happen. Like, and I mean in a good way. Like, just a lot of amazing things where you're just like, how did I get here? One moment or last week you're here, and now you're working with these people here. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, it's crazy. It's surreal.
Well, and life is like way more interesting when you're just open to all the possibilities, I think. I
Yeah,
feel like way more adventurous and like and it's sort of like let being and it's similar to like the shopping by energy. It's like being led by energy into certain situations, I think.
yeah,
Right?
definitely. I think we got it all. I think talked about spirituality, your music, traveling. I guess what would you want the people who listen to this to know, or for upcoming things, or just like what should they be aware of what's going on in Jamie Drake's life?
Well, I have a spring tour that's gonna be starting in at the end of March. I'll
Ooh,
be hitting I'll be hitting the East Coast and I'll be hitting a lot of the US actually. So
great. There we
all
go.
over. I'll be doing it all over again. So I'll be announcing that in a couple of weeks. So maybe by the time you put this out, like I'll have announced my tour dates.
Sweet,
And
yeah.
so, if anyone wants to come out and see me play live, there's a high probability you'll be able to see me March, April, May. I'll be touring, and I also plan to put out some music this year, some fun nuggets that might be unexpected. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, great.
So,
I just want to say thank you so much, Jamie, for coming on to the Grantastic podcast. This is always fun. Got to know you, get to know you more. Also, finally, great to have to have you on finally for a fun fact for everyone. I don't know if it's a fun fact, but like we were trying to schedule it, so many things, but we're finally here, which was great, and learned a
yeah. And
lot.
doesn't it feel it feels nice to do it and then like it's like at the top of the new year,
Yes,
right?
well, I think that was the best part, just because there was
Yeah.
so much with like the cameras, and then like random shit happening in my life with like family issues and all this stuff, and it was just like
Yeah.
it's perfect that this is my first podcast for 2023, which is awesome to
Yeah.
start the way. And it's awesome just to have a spirituality concept into it all, because it definitely has like you inspired me a lot today to like to do things and to like really just like work on and manifesting it. Like I have a whiteboard where I like if I put it on the board, if I see it every day, it's like it's in my head. So gonna put some stuff to get me inspired and to flourish, as we say.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
So
I'm
yeah,
so glad that you contacted me. It's been such a nice conversation to have with you.
yeah.
Um, yeah, the last podcast that I did felt a little bit awkward for some reason. So I'm really glad to
No, well,
that this just felt really
this was
like a cool
really
conversation.
this was really great, and it was just really great. Just like it was just easy going. You know what I mean? Like I said, it was just like, and I think just having like some similarities and understanding, it's just like it helps a lot. And I don't know, it was just it felt like just talking to another close friend of mine, basically. Like these are the
Yeah,
conversations I usually have with people. They come over, we smoke some weed, or maybe we microdose, or whatever the fuck it is, and we just have a good
totally.
talk, look at the lava lamp back there for hours, whatever it is.
Yeah,
Just like, and then make music or poetry or whatever it is. So yeah, thank you again for coming on, and
definitely.
I think people are gonna appreciate it. And for all you out there, thank you for listening. Stay hydrated, drink water, be safe, and listen to some groovy tunes.
Yeah. Well, should I play New Girl to
Yeah,
end
yeah,
things?
yeah. If you, we would love that. So if you have or you just want acapella or whatever, we're here for it.
All right. Let's see.
Heck yeah.
Let me tune up a little. My dog's looking at me like, I need to go out of this room now, please.
Heard this song too many times.
Come on, man.
I hate. Is this G that you're trying to get
Oh yeah, I have to sneeze.
to?
That was so loud.
Reflections.
You should definitely cut that out. Oh man. Okay. Oh chicka ah chicka 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 chicka ah chicka oh chicka ah chicka chicka ah chicka oh chicka ah chicka oh chicka ah chicka oh chicka ah chicka chicka ah chicka. Standing on the bus stop, trying not to feel cold. Going into the first grade of the night new school. I am only 8 years old and I just lost my friends. All the way back in Florida, where these Ozark mountains. I'm always the new girl, I'm always a new girl. New girl, I am always a new girl. New girl, got half the new girl. New girl. Playground looking down at my legs, and I notice a Harry. I'm embarrassed and ashamed. I am only 10 years old and I just lost my dad, who moved away to the country to a place called Michigan. I'm always the new girl, new girl. I'm always the new girl, new girl. I am always the new girl, got half the new girl, new girl. I'm all alone in a crowd, that's the way it's always been. It's like I'm trying somehow to never quite fit in. I am only 30 and I just lost my faith. I'm opening like a flower, more exposed to the pain. I'm always the new girl, the new girl. I'm always the new girl, the new girl. I am always the new girl, the new girl. Got half the new girl, new girl. Banana, banana, banana.
Yeah, that's amazing. Got like a VIP song of it hearing. That's amazing. Super great.
Oh, thanks.
We're gonna love that. It sounded great. You did get a recording of that on your Logic, right?
Mhm.
Okay, great, great. Because I know Zoom does like a cancellation, whatever, does like a compression. So we'll definitely use that take for sure. Um,
Good.
but yeah, that was super amazing. Again, timeless. I could just see some of the like, I don't know, Carole King singing like a cover of that song on her piano, whatever, with a cat near her, or like,
Oh my god, that would be a dream.
or Carly Simon, or or Joni, of course. Just like that's a timeless song, which I think is so great. Um,
Thanks, Grant.
Yeah, Jamie. Actually, fun fact. I'll just throw it in. I played that song at High Street. Like I went into the studio, whatever, and I got there early, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna play some music while I'm setting up mics for the session beforehand. Played that and like it was like at the middle part where like it had the solo part kind of, and like a few of the engineers popped their heads in, and they're like, who the fuck is this? And I was like, this is Jamie Drake, and they're like, where is she? I was like, no, I'm just playing the music, and they're like, okay, if she comes through, you let us know. And I was like,
Aw.
so yeah, definitely, you're always welcome at Hyde Street. They're all definitely have their radars now of your music
Aw. That is so cool. Thank you so much. That's sweet.
because it's timeless. They like, you know what I mean? If you hear a song where you just kind of like you just feel the groove and it feels right, like there's no questions, there's no whatever. They're just like, I dig it. If this is right, it's natural, it's supposed to happen, and that's how we do it. So yeah,
Yeah.
which is great. Well, everyone on Grantastic, thank you for watching. We appreciate you. We love you, and we hope you have a good day.
Yeah. Thank you.